This Week in Startups is brought to you by Blinkist, the only app that takes thousands of best-selling nonfiction books and distills them down to their most impactful elements. Go to Blinkist.com/twist to start your free 7-day trial. Campaign Monitor, email marketing platform used by more than 250,000 businesses worldwide. Try Campaign Monitor for free at campaignmonitor.com/twist. Listeners who sign up and become a customer receive a free t-shirt. And LinkedIn, more than the world's largest professional network, it's also a better way to find great talent. Go to linkedin.com/twist and get a $50 credit toward your first job post.
Nirav, it's pronounced Nirav.
Nirav. But thank you.
Nirav. I always have to, I'm obligated. Thank you.
It's Jason, right?
What's that?
Jason?
Jason, yeah. Thank you. That's the French version, Jason. I'm obligated to get names right because it's hard to pronounce Calicanis. I'm such a huge fan of Nextdoor. I've been part of 3 communities. And I thought I would just start with the absolute proof that you have created an incredible phenomenon. I guess I have the clicker here. This is when you know your company has made it, is when a parody account is made and it goes viral. Anybody here follow Best of Nextdoor? Raise your hand if you follow this. So, oh my God, it's only like 10, 15 people. You're all gonna love this. It's the best Twitter handle ever.
Thank you, Jason, for getting even more people to follow this account that
it's the best ever.
We don't prefer they follow.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
Are you crazy? This is like, when you get parodied for like the edge behaviors in an ecosystem, it just means you are the greatest success ever. But the point of this account is that people get maniacally passionate and sometimes weird about their local communities. And Nextdoor, I mean, the story of how you grew this thing, I think, is what's critically important. What's the footprint of Nextdoor now in the United States?
Well, we've got 90% of American neighborhoods that are relying on Nextdoor. And when I showed up today and your team sprung that tweet on me, I felt like it was important to point out for the audience that, believe it or not, in a Houston neighborhood, you can look this up, this was reported by Texas Monthly, there was an honest-to-goodness Picasso sold on Nextdoor. And so that was the parody of it, and our comms people hate Best of Nextdoor. I will admit, even though I don't like the fact that there are more followers of Best of Nextdoor than there are of @Nextdoor itself, I do find it humorous.
You are a complete liar. You created this yourself. You have a burner phone in your pocket right now. Okay? Let's be honest. I have 3 fake parody accounts for Jason, and none of them have gained any traction. I keep trying. Every 2 or 3 years, I create a parody account, and the same thing happens. I can't parody myself because I'm such a parody.
Well, the funny thing is, when I meet people who use Nextdoor, there are a fair amount who come to me and say, oh yeah, I love Nextdoor, but man, there's this completely crazy neighbor that I have, or I have this incredibly crazy story that I've heard, and I'm listening, and at this point, over 210,000 neighborhoods globally use the product. So we've heard most of the stories, and typically I will be thinking to myself, yeah, that is a pretty crazy story, and that does sound like a crazy neighbor. It's not Nextdoor's fault. It may be your fault for choosing to live in that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, let's do this quick poll. How many people are on Nextdoor? Raise your hand. That's pretty amazing. Now, here's an interesting one. How many people have sent a postcard to a neighbor? Raise your hand if you're one of those people. See, now this is interesting. It's about 15 people out of whatever, 500, 600 people in the room. I have sent, you know this because you're monitoring my account, I have sent no less than 100 postcards. I love Nextdoor, and I love sending the postcards. Describe the moment in time that the postcard idea came up. Where did this come from? Had anybody done that before? I think somebody may have done it before, but it is so, I gotta think that this was the hack of all hacks for Nextdoor. Am I right or wrong?
It certainly has been critical to where Nextdoor is today. And just to give some context, we are so proud when we look at this map and we realize that all 50 states, 90% of American neighborhoods, still launching almost 100 new neighborhoods every day. And now, of course, we're in 6 other countries. And so it feels amazing to have this kind of adoption. But we've been around since 2010. We came up with this idea in the summer of 2010. And so we are the exact opposite of an overnight success. I would say we're still pretty early in terms of where we think we can go. And we've had to do it a really, really hard way because there are a number of things about Nextdoor that have actually stunted our growth or created friction. And postcard invitations, although again, it sounds like it's interesting today, you can imagine me going to a board meeting, and I have some amazing investors, Bill Gurley from Benchmark, David Z from Greylock, and saying, they're asking me all the time, okay, you're a social network, what's your viral coefficient? How many people are inviting other people? How quickly can we grow? And I say, well, the good news is our members love the product and they want all of their neighbors to get on Nextdoor. The bad news is you do know that when we started the company, almost 30% of Americans could not even name a single one of their neighbors by name. So for us to believe that even if you have the incentive to invite your neighbor's contact information is going to be on your phone or in your Microsoft Outlook address book, we just knew that wasn't going to be the case. But if you have this kind of demand, if you have this gift that your members want to invite other members to the platform, you have to find a way to fuel that. And in our case, that is postcard invitations. They cost us money. And so I think we are probably one of the USPS's top accounts at this point. We have spent many millions of dollars facilitating our members' postcards, but it's such an amazing thing that our members will look at a map of their neighborhood. We color the houses in that have joined Nextdoor green. There's a color when someone's been invited to Nextdoor, and there's a color red when you haven't been invited or you haven't joined. And our members click on those houses. They get a quota of postcards based on the previous conversion rates of postcards they've sent. So the more people you invite and the more people that you've invited that join, the more postcards you get. That's why you got 100. Clearly people like you, your neighbors like you, which is great.
Very popular.
And as you can see from this pie chart here, we're an interesting company in that all the conversations are private. You have to verify your address and create an account to join. So there's no search engine optimization. There's no search engine marketing as a way to grow. There's no social sharing. We grow 100% organically, and you can see the segments here. Direct is people just coming to Nextdoor and joining, and that's typically because of word of mouth. They're following the Best of Nextdoor account. They realize Van Goghs
or
and Picassos
over the
are
shoulder.
being sold.
I don't know if you read David Sacks's like sort of real world virality, but somebody's on their phone doing something, and the person looks over their shoulder and says, "What are you doing?" And "Oh, I'm on Nextdoor. I'm selling something," or "I'm Nextdoor finding a babysitter."
So that kind of thing. We've got the email invites, which is sort of, the good old-fashioned way that social networks have grown historically. And then you've got postcard invites. And it's amazing to us that something so old-fashioned as a printed piece of mail can have a conversion rate so high that ultimately, even though it costs us 50 cents every single time someone sends one of these postcard invitations, the ultimate CPA is recouped by us in 1 year of revenue.
Blinkist is a micro-learning app and platform. They provide personal and professional enhancement by offering you audio and text-based top-line insights from both best-selling authors and undiscovered nonfiction books. I love this product. I use it all the time. I am a paying customer. Blinkist.com is an amazing app, and your call to action is to go to Blinkist.com/twist to start your 7-day free trial. Blinkist, Blinkist.com/twist to get that 7-day free trial. And one thing you might not know, is that since 2012, Blinkist has raised over $35 million. They have over 80 employees, and over 6 million international users have enjoyed Blinkist 15-minute explainers, i.e. books in blinks, that are available in text and audio. Digest or books in blinks feature top-line ideas extracted from over 2,500 nonfiction books in many genres: entrepreneurship, politics, science, psychology, investment, and parenting. And I love to use these myself to sample the book, get a little bit of an idea of what it's about, and then after I do 3 or 4 of them, I go and I'll buy the actual full audiobook.
but I love to get this as a reinforcer as well. So sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook and I forget it. And then I get these nice notes, nice and organized, and I can read or listen to them. I do it in the car, I do it in the gym. It's amazing. And Blinkist is really one of Berlin's fastest growing startups. I don't know how I missed this investment, but boy, are they crushing it. 35 million raised to date with over 80 employees. Congratulations to the team at Blinkist. And remember, go ahead and go to Blinkist.com/twist to start that free 7-day trial. Thanks again to Blinkist for supporting independent media like This Week in Startup. Let's get back to this program.
If we think about the LTV of paying money for these postcards, it's so worth it. And the thing that's really cool is we are all about authentic, real-world communities. That is the founding vision of Nextdoor. We haven't invented neighborhood community. We're just trying to use technology to strengthen it, to make it easier, to facilitate it. And when you get a real printed postcard in the mail and it says your neighbor, Jason Calacanis, has invited you to Nextdoor, that is a completely different experience than when you get some viral invite from someone who was at some point tricked into uploading their entire address book into a new app that they just started using themselves. And so what we see here, what Jason has put up, and before we had the panel, we talked about, you've got this great adoption in the US, and I said, yeah, but man, it's been really hard. And we've taken a lot of very, very difficult decisions that have actually created friction. But the nice thing is you see that 100% organic growth. And what you see here is quarter over quarter, how large are our neighborhoods? And the amazing thing is you can see that as far back as Q3 of 2015, so call it 3 years ago, only 4% of our neighborhoods had 1,000 members or more. And we probably had in 2015, I would guess 100,000 neighborhoods. Today we have 210,000, but we had 100,000, right? So 4%, so 4,000 neighborhoods were over 1,000. You look at how systematic and regular the growth curve is when you don't have some of those hacks that make you feel really good and you get to 100 million users overnight, but what goes up quickly sometimes comes down quickly.
There are the crack pipe growth hacks like SEO or social link baiting nonsense. You took the slow, let's build coals, let's build embers, let's burn this fire properly, build a proper fire. Was there pressure from your investors when you say, we're going to do postcards and we're going to do signs that you put up outside your house? And they said, well, fuck this, like just SEO the hell out of this and just social media the hell out of this. And how did you deflect that if there was that as a founder and as a CEO?
Well, I was really lucky because my main investors I've worked with before. And so Bill Gurley is someone that I've worked with for 19 years. And in the first company that we did together, a company called Opinions, which was about online product reviews, we didn't know about SEO, but we allowed our website to be crawled. And before we knew it, 85% of our traffic was coming from Google. And that
quite a dependency.
Well, it felt
I've been
amazing. It felt amazing at the time until at various points we would fall out of the index. And our traffic would literally go down by 85% overnight. And you can imagine as a CEO, you go to bed at night and you think to yourself, when I wake up in the morning, will I have 85% less traffic? And so I think some of the scars of that experience led to, when we started this company, Bill being a lot more open-minded because he'd also lived through that experience. Now, we have a deep conviction and have had from the very beginning that Nextdoor is something that can be ubiquitous, that will be adopted by 100% of neighborhoods around the world, and we would like to grow faster. It's not that we like to send postcards. It's not that we like to grow slowly. It would be amazing to be 1 year in and say that we have 90% adoption. But we just ultimately learned in talking to our early members and in being really thoughtful about how to build the right quality foundation, we kept coming back to a series of things that ultimately did equate to doing things the hard way. And it's just, again, it's not an active choice. In retrospect, it looks like, oh yeah, of course, we knew all along it would take 8 years, but we would get there. We were extremely scared when we made these decisions. And we were pounding all the whiteboards in our office all the time, wondering if there were an easier path. But for us, there never has been. The only path to where we are today has been slow, but it's been steady and it's been high quality. And the nice thing is, in a world where companies, they're created, they are the hottest thing in the world, and then a few months later, they don't exist anymore, we've built something where in 210,000 individual neighborhoods, we've had to create critical mass, viral effects, network effects in every single one of those neighborhoods. And I think if you now take a look back, we feel exceptionally fortunate and frankly confident that the moat we've built, Nextdoor is going to be around. This is probably my favorite graph that I show, whether it's to employees, to members, to investors. This is showing household adoption of Nextdoor neighborhoods. And we've cohorted the neighborhoods by the year that they were created. All of our neighborhoods have individual neighborhood boundaries. They all fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Every neighborhood is started by a member, named by a member. The boundary is created by a member. And then that member, in the first 21 days after creating the neighborhood, has to recruit 9 other members to join. Otherwise, it doesn't launch as a Nextdoor neighborhood. And so what you see here is, 2012, we start. And it's been a long time. It's been 6 years. But all of the neighborhoods in that cohort are almost 50% adopted. So we're talking about 50% of the people in those neighborhoods are using Nextdoor. Now, in 2012, we probably only had 2,000 neighborhoods. So pretty small set, right? We've got 210,000 now. The exciting thing is you look at every subsequent year, and there were years in this mix when we were launching upwards of 40,000 new neighborhoods, and every year is following the same trajectory, if not better. So this gives us incredible confidence that in a short amount of time, if the curves simply continue along the same paths, you're going to have an asset that in the US alone will have well over 100 million active members. And that's just the math. That's just following the path that over 8 long years we've paved. And so again, it was not obvious. It's even doesn't feel obvious today.
It feels obvious in retrospect because one of the things I've noticed in my 3 communities, yeah, I've been in 3 communities over 10 years or so, or whatever, 6, 7 years, I guess, of using the product, LA, San Francisco, now down in Hillsborough. The conversations, because they're not indexed in Google, because they're not tweetable, I mean, people can do a screen grab, and I guess that causes a little bit of agita, and it's against the core philosophy, and it puts you in an awkward position of banning people if they do it. It's kind of awkward, I guess, so you have to just deal with it on the edges. It does make it more pleasant that that you can have a conversation. And literally, I was having a conversation, and somebody screenshotted it, and then, they kind of were trolling me a bit, and, I'm a little bit of a public figure, so I was like, all right, whatever, I got to deal with it. But I was like, it's kind of against the the social contract,
the ethos.
Nextdoor, the ethos, thank you. How do you think about managing that? And do you plan on kicking people out if you catch them doing it? Have you kicked people out?
Certainly if a member shares personal information about another member, that is sacrosanct to the principles that we founded the company under. We've expanded recently to France, Italy, Germany, Spain, et cetera. So we've been pretty deep on GDPR, which is, the big set of privacy laws that we believe will start in the EU and ultimately will make their way to the US as well. And one of the principles of GDPR is privacy by design. And we started this company in the summer of 2010, and it was a private social network in 2010, right? So this privacy by design thing, it's not a contemporary thing that we've now taken on because we've been forced to. It's something that we believed in because when we talked to our early members, they said, we want a place where we know it's just us and our neighbors. And so if our members are sharing private information of other members, we will absolutely kick them out. If you live in a neighborhood with Julia Roberts and she finds her lost dog using Nextdoor, which is something that happened, and you decide to screenshot that and you share that, well, that's probably something where we might be a little bit more tolerant. But we're a company with, again, 210,000 individual communities, none of which the employees of Nextdoor are reading unless they themselves live in one of those communities. I'm not looking at a bunch of different neighborhoods. I find out about the Picasso and the Van Gogh and the Julia Roberts dog in much the same way that everyone else does. It's reported in the press or it's on a Twitter account, it's tweeted, et cetera. And so the social contract is one where before we were so busy that we would commute 30 minutes to an hour each way to get to work and back to work, before we were just engrossed in our phones, we were sitting on our front porches, we were walking around our neighborhoods, we were playing at the park with our kids, and we were talking with our neighbors. And it's not like the conversations were about our bank accounts and other privileged information, but those conversations were private. They were just between you and your neighbors. And so everything we do is an attempt to look at how it works in the real world and just simulate that online.
I am obsessed with email. You know this because I'm probably emailing you now about the podcast. We have a This Week in Startups podcast list, and we send all of our listeners updates on the podcast. Who's been on the show, maybe a live episode's coming up, live stream is firing off, and we constantly get new people finding out about our podcast. And so we use Campaign Monitor, which is an easy-to-use email marketing platform. And it comes with incredible templates, and it's got a drag and drop editor, which I'm about to show you here, as well as 24/7 customer support and over 250,000 businesses using them all over the world. But it's so quick to set up something called email automation. What is email automation? This is one of the greatest tools you can add to your startup or business's success. And in the example I'm going to show you, we set up an automation. I'll hit play here and I'll sportscast it. And you see us putting in the logo and putting in some spacing, adding images, and we're telling you about all the different episodes on This Week in Startups. We're seeing a preview on an iPhone. And also, we say, hey, if somebody signs up for the list, wait 15 minutes and then send them this best of email with shows that we've done in the past. And then it says, wait 3 days, and then send them another best of show. In other words, if you sign up for our mailing list and you just found out about This Week in Startups, we can set this drip campaign to give you drip, 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 a couple of emails letting you know about our events, about past episodes. And people love this kind of stuff. It re-engages people. It's not enough to just collect the email. You have to think about the emails you're sending to people. You have to make them look beautiful. You have to have a clear call to action. And here is your clear call to action right now. I want you to try Campaign Monitor for free at campaignmonitor.com/twist. Listeners who sign up and become a customer will receive a free t-shirt. You can really change the course of your business by using campaignmonitor.com. I love the product. My team loves the product. And let me tell you something. Doing this automation used to be something that you had to work with a developer to do. That's why so few companies did it. Now Campaign Monitor has made it quick and easy, and they have a huge library of examples. So go there right now, campaignmonitor.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode.
It must be in some way rewarding or confirming for you to watch the absolute disaster that Facebook has become in terms of its impact on society. I mean, it's causing people to have stress, anxiety, depression. It's all proven. They manipulate people based upon things like good news, bad news. They pray at the altar of engagement at all cost. To Sean Parker, the first president's admission that we were just trying to manipulate people to take as much of their time as possible, and now even potentially, or being hacked and allowing other governments to interfere with our elections, whether it actually did result in the election being swung one way or the other, doesn't matter. They are the conduit by which people are now fucking with our democracy. How do you look at Facebook?
It never feels good to see another company have adversity. I mean, you and I have been around for so long. We're true believers in this internet revolution. I mean, I know that because we literally have been around for decades, right, working on this stuff. And so I believe that technology can and should be a force for good in the world. I've also, in the 3 companies I founded, only worked on user-generated content, bottoms-up online communities, and those things are very difficult to manage. In fact, if you try to manage them aggressively, That's when you have most of the problems. But you do have to think really carefully about feedback loops and structure and incentives. And I think that with social media, broadly speaking, we got out in front of ourselves. And I don't think anyone could have predicted what is happening now. And I'm talking about social media broadly. The reason that I genuinely am not at all happy about that is because I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And when I talk to parents that have kids that are a little older than mine, and I say, okay, give me some advice. I mean, this is obviously experiential being a parent, but what are the things that I really need to pay attention to? What I'm increasingly hearing is you need to be super careful about social media. And they're not even talking about Facebook, by the way. They're talking about these private communities where kids get together, and the things that you can do and say when you're speaking from behind a screen versus in the real world, it leads to all the things you just said. Manipulation of elections, right? Absolute
Bullying.
Antagonism, bullying, right? I mean, there are some awful things. And we, I think, as creators, and you're a creator as well, and I know there are many in the audience, we need to create things that make the world a better place. It's not just about making money. That's actually not how this whole revolution started. Making money and having successful businesses was a byproduct of having a belief that we could build things that would help probably first ourselves and then ultimately many more people. And so I don't think it's, I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, we've never felt that Facebook is a competitor. Of course, lots of people will say that. I mean, Facebook can do anything, right? We're not trying to create virtual community the way Facebook does. We're trying to give you more tools to actually spend time in the real world. In fact, we like to say that the ultimate measure of success with Nextdoor is that you meet someone that lives in your neighborhood on the app, and then you go get together with them in the real world. So we don't want to keep you online. We know you'll come back. It's a little bit like Google. The nice thing about Google is Google doesn't care about how long it takes you. In fact, if anything, they want you to get your results as quickly as possible and go on with your life because they know you're going to come back. And so this attention economy where engagement at all costs becomes the metric that people are looking at, I think we know the dangers now. And there will be a correction. And, in all seriousness, I don't think that there are bad people at Facebook that are trying to do this intentionally. I think it's an exceptionally hard problem, particularly at scale. Now, they're getting paid a lot to deal with it, so they should.
You must admit that they have been super careless and not considered. As a person who's considered, who's been through this in the beginning, as an example, they allowed anybody to add anybody to any group at any time. This resulted in a specific case where gay men who were in a choir in college were added to the gay men's choir, and in the name of increasing engagement, Facebook posted those people being added to the group to those people's walls, which then syndicated to their families' walls, and they outed people at the very delicate age of 17 or 18 or 19 years old when you go to college. This is what engagement at all costs results in. And I think they care more about the growth and the stock price than they actually do about the ramifications. You are being incredibly generous. Do you sincerely believe that they are considered in their product design over there, or do you think that they're just obsessed with growth?
I absolutely sincerely believe that they are trying their best. And I mean, by trying their best, some of these things you're talking about, they would never have wanted any of those things to happen. I sincerely believe that there are good people over there. Now, that said, I think that when you start a company, you have bits of DNA that are created. And it's sort of for better or for worse, right? I mean, you think about some of the iconic companies. I mean, Google, in its DNA, it was always think as big as possible and apply technology to these problems at scale. Apple, insanely great products, right? Amazon, I mean, I don't know, Bezos has a lot of things that he probably thought about that was in the DNA. If you and I were talking on stage 10 years ago, we would be praising move fast and break things. We would be talking about how that was amazing advice, and can you believe how quickly companies can be built when you just engineer growth the way that Facebook has. And those were literally best practices for companies for years and years and years. Now, when ultimately the worm turns, and it often does, right? Particularly, I feel like I've been around for a while. And so I know that the minute that I'm feeling good about things, something is going to happen that's going to bring me back down to earth. And I'm going to feel like I was kicked in the stomach like I do a lot of times as a founder, right? But the worm has turned. And I think the difficult thing is when you have built a company based on some of these things, growth and engagement, which, by the way, not too long ago were not bad words. They were good words. And it was really impressive. It's very difficult to then change an entire culture. And so I think that may be part of what's going on.
I think it's probably accurate, and it does start at the top. And yeah, I would agree with the premise that they didn't think they would move fast and break things, and that the thing that would be broken would be people's spirits, democracy, freedom, mental health. I don't think they knew that, but I think a lot of us did see it happening, and they didn't care and were reckless. We're going to disagree on the topic.
Well, no, but that's actually an interesting point, which is, and I'm sure that there are a lot of founders and executives in the audience. I mean, when you start a company, you're getting criticized nonstop. I mean, just nonstop, you're getting criticized, right? And so what is the balance between blocking all of the noise and listening carefully to what people are saying, right? I mean, when we started Nextdoor, people were absolutely crazy that we would expect them to register with their home address and verify their accounts before they could see anything. They were joining something, they couldn't even see it. And it was extremely difficult to drown that out because we felt, yes, it's not a perfect situation, it's not the most elegant solution, but we cannot let you into a neighborhood until we know that you actually live there.
It was like a gatehouse. Like, for people who don't understand the behavioral loop of the postcard, you put in your address, you claim your address, a postcard comes with a 4-digit code on it, you type in the 4-digit code, and that is confirmation that you received that piece of mail, and now you're off to the races.
I want to tell you about LinkedIn Talent Solutions. If you've tried to hire someone right now, you know it is bonkers out there. We are in record low unemployment, and competition for top talent has never been more fierce. I am struggling with this myself, and the solution that we found that's working incredible for us is LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Yes, you know about job boards, and you know how frustrating they are. But think about it. Do you check job boards? Have you ever checked job boards? Nope. There's a place where people go every day to grow professionally and explore jobs. It's the place where they keep their online resume with all their skills on it, right? You know the place I'm talking about. It's LinkedIn. And 70% of the US workforce is there, including the top members of the workforce. Because if you're a driven individual, you keep that page up to date. You go there to look for opportunities. You go there to congratulate your friends and your network on LinkedIn about their new jobs and their new experiences. It's also the best way to find talent. Just ask 100,000 businesses who posted to LinkedIn Jobs over the past year. It's not 10,000, it's now up to 100,000. 22 million professionals view and apply to jobs on LinkedIn every week. That's right, 22 million professionals view and apply to jobs on LinkedIn every week. And LinkedIn considers people's skills, experiences, location, and more to match and promote your job to potential candidates. Think about the data that LinkedIn has on this talent pool. It is unrivaled in the industry. And businesses rate LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards. That's a very significant number. Everybody knows significant starts at 15%. Here we're saying LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. A business is only as strong as its people. That is so true. And every hire matters. So here's your call to action. Go to linkedin.com/twist. LinkedIn.com. You know that website because you go to it all the time. LinkedIn.com/twist. What does the twist stand for? This Week in Startups. TWIST. And you will get a $50 credit towards your first job post. That is linkedin.com/twist for $50. Smackaroos.
A really, truly brilliant career and a run you've had. I mean, just watching it, I've been so impressed. I'm so glad we got this chance to sit down. When you look back on your career now, what were the things, if you could go back in a time machine 20 years, startup number one, you would whisper in your ear?
Boy, that's a good one. I mean, when you are, again, a founder and you're starting these companies, I mean, you're always focused on the future, right? I think that I feel, and this is probably more a statement about getting older and having children now and thinking about things that are a lot more important than Nextdoor in my life. I feel exceptionally lucky. I mean, I know it's easy to complain about where the world is today. And there are a lot of things I see that I don't like for my children. But the opportunity that, if you think about over the last 20 years, the opportunities that we've had to build things that have true impact, I mean, global scale and impact, right? That's a privilege. I mean, both my parents are physicians. They've had amazing careers. They're retired now, and I think they had amazing impact. But how many patients did they have over 40-year careers? Maybe thousands? We've got 90% of American neighborhoods that are relying on this thing that me and a couple friends dreamt up in the summer of 2010. That's an incredible privilege. I mean, I would probably go back to myself, call it 20 years ago, and I would just remind myself that you really do have to believe the journey is the reward, because this is also not easy. It's a privilege, right? But it's not easy. It's not easy. You have to enjoy creating things. You have to be okay with people criticizing you. You have to get energy from seeing people take the thing that you've put your life force into and they make it their own, right? And that, to me, ultimately, over whatever, a 22-year career and hopefully still going strong, I mean, that's the thing that I feel exceptionally fortunate for. Also, business success has come through that. Financial success has come, right? But those can't be the drivers. If there's one thing that I'm starting to get a little concerned about relative to Silicon Valley, maybe globally there are lots of issues that we can be concerned about. But in Silicon Valley, I feel like things have tilted a little bit from I'm doing this because I want to build something that I believe in, to I'm doing this because if I build this successfully, I will make a lot of money. And it's not that money was not part of the equation in those early days. We would look at the successful folks, and Bill Gates was the richest man on earth, and we would say, wow. But we would start with let's build something that we believe in. And the rest would take care of itself. If you invert that a little bit and you say, yeah, it's important to build something and I'm excited about building something, but the reason I'm doing it is because I see all of these successful people and I want to be one of them, I think that's going to ultimately, that's going to sour what has made Silicon Valley special. And that's what I would remind all the entrepreneurs. This has got to start because of the love of the game. And that's how greatness is created.
That's incredibly well said. I was thinking of how I would wrap this up, and you just dunked on it. It was great. You guys going to go public soon? What's the business model here? I have an obligation to ask this question.
No, it's a great question, and we've been generating revenue now for the last 3 years and are growing 100% year over year, and so that's actually gone really well.
Tens of millions?
Yes, and growing.
Almost to the 9? Growing.
Are any of my comms people around here? If you're growing 100% year over year and you're at tens of millions, sometime soon you'll get to the 9s, right? So
that feels pretty amazing, doesn't it? Because that's the first time for you.
No, it's not. It's not. My first company actually went public in 2004, and
it got to 9 figures.
A couple $100 million in revenue and profits, actually, which is not where we are. But I think the big challenge for Nextdoor is a business. I mean, we feel like it's a business, and it's also an entity that should have human potential to make the world a better place. On the business side, the way that we've figured out this distribution, scalable distribution on a hyperlocal level, we've got to figure out how do you give small businesses the opportunity to be part of this internet revolution and do that in a scalable way without hiring, 70,000 people like they used to do in the Yellow Pages days. We haven't figured that out yet. If we uncrack that, I think this will be a generational company. So that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, I think if you can figure out how to get, half of all these neighborhoods to be online and doing this through this slow growth, you'll figure out how to let the businesses participate without ruining it. Because that is one of the things that I'm sure is a big concern, is that once you introduce commerce, it's really nice when you ask, does somebody know a babysitter or a gardener or a pool cleaner or whatever, a handy person. But boy, I just don't want to have like the whole thing become commercial. I love the organic nature of it. I don't mind seeing the Nest ads or the Ring doorbell seem to be the Ring community. So I was like, oh, that's nice. Ring, I like Ring. Yeah, it feels good. All right, well, listen, continued success and incredibly well done. This conversation went even better than I thought it was. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck.